Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat Penny coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1 today, we're digging deep into one of America's most iconic and cherished coins, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. But not just any wheat penny, we're focusing on the rare and mysterious 1945 edition that's leaving collectors stunned and investors curious. Some versions of this coin are so rare, so pristine, and so special, they've been known to bring in jaw-dropping amounts of money. And now, before you go running to your old coin jar or dusty childhood collection, stay with me, because we're about to explore the incredible story behind the 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, what makes it so desirable, and how a single penny, yes, just one, could turn out to be worth a small fortune. The year was 1945. World War II was finally coming to an end, and the world was ready for peace, healing, and rebuilding. In the United States, everyday life was slowly returning to normal. Factories shifted from making weapons back to making household goods, soldiers were coming home, and Americans were feeling a cautious sense of hope for the future. And during that very same year, the U.S. Mint continued to produce the humble 1-cent coin, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. And now, at first glance, the 1945 penny might look like any ordinary coin. It's small, copper-colored, and features the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. On the back, you'll see two wheat stalks curved along the sides, a classic and timeless design that collectors have loved for generations. But what separates some of these 1945 pennies from the rest isn't just the year they were minted. It's what lies beneath the surface, the details, the condition, and in some cases, a very rare twist. The standard 1945 Lincoln penny was made of copper and zinc. Millions of them were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. So yes, the coin itself isn't rare just because of the date. But here's where it gets interesting. While most 1945 wheat pennies are common, certain rare versions were struck with minting errors, and those errors can turn a regular penny into an incredibly valuable collector's item. Some of the most sought-after 1945 pennies include off-center strikes, double dies, and coins that were accidentally minted on steel planchets left over from 1943 wartime coins. These steel pennies from 1945 are considered some of the rarest errors in U.S. coinage history. Think about that, a mistake made nearly 80 years ago could now be worth more than many people's cars, or even homes. But it's not just errors that increase value. Condition plays a huge role. Most pennies you find in circulation are scratched, worn down, or corroded. But if you happen to come across a 1945 Lincoln penny in brilliant uncirculated condition, with sharp details, full luster, and no visible wear, then you could be holding something extraordinary. These high-grade coins are incredibly hard to find because most pennies were heavily used in daily life. A coin that has survived for decades without a scratch? That's a treasure in itself. And when a rare error and perfect condition come together? That's when you enter the world of serious value. So why is this coin so desirable? It's not just about rarity. It's about what it represents. The 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny is a time capsule, a piece of American history that reminds us of a country at a turning point. It's a symbol of resilience, recovery, and hope. And for collectors, it's a piece of the past that tells a story money simply can't replace. But in some rare cases, money does talk, because now we come to the moment you've all been waiting for. That if you happen to be one of the incredibly lucky individuals to win a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a unique minting error in pristine, untouched, uncirculated condition, you could be looking at a staggering value of $120,000. Yes, you heard that right. $120,000 for a single penny. So the next time you're sorting through your change, or flipping through that old coin folder, pay attention to the details. That tiny piece of copper could be your key to an unbelievable discovery. Top 2. If you're someone who finds magic in old change or keeps a stash of pennies just in case one might be special, then you're in for a real treat today. We're about to dive into a coin that might be hiding in plain sight, the Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1947. It's small, it's copper, and at first glance, it looks just like any other penny you've probably seen hundreds of times. But don't let that fool you. Because there's more to this coin than meets the eye, and in some rare cases, it could be worth a life-changing amount of money. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll find out exactly how much one of these seemingly ordinary pennies could be worth, and trust me, the number will blow your mind. Let's go back in time. The year is 1947. World War II has ended, and America is stepping into a new era. Soldiers have returned home, industries are booming, and the country is rapidly evolving. It's a period of rebuilding, of optimism, and of forward movement. But as America charges into the future, the U.S. Mint continues a humble tradition, producing the iconic Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now, this wasn't a new design. The Wheat Penny had already been in circulation since 1909, featuring the beloved image of Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 wheat ears on the back. These coins had become part of everyday life, slipped into lunch counters, dropped into piggy banks, lost between couch cushions. But while millions of these coins were minted, not all of them were created equal. In 1947, the U.S. Mint struck pennies at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of these pennies were made from copper with a small mix of zinc. They were produced in high numbers, and for the most part, were meant to be used, worn down, and eventually forgotten. And for many, that's exactly what happened, but a few of these 1947 wheat pennies escaped the fate of circulation. A tiny number were stored away, untouched, in mint-fresh condition. Some were forgotten in bankrolls, others kept by collectors who saw something special. And then, there are those incredibly rare pieces, the ones that contain errors or unique features, the ones that never should have existed in the first place. Now this is where the story gets really exciting. Among the vast number of 1947 wheat pennies, there are a select few with mysterious minting errors. These can include double die obverse, where Lincoln's image or lettering appears doubled. Others may have off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or even unusual compositions that resulted from leftover metals in the mint presses. These error coins are incredibly desirable among collectors, and when combined with perfect or near-perfect condition, we're talking about coins that are nearly flawless under magnification. Their value can skyrocket, but even without a dramatic error, condition alone can turn this coin into a true prize. A 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny that has been graded as mint state, with sharp details and no visible wear, is already rare. Most of the coins that were circulated in daily life show scratches, discoloration, or heavy wear. So to find one preserved for over 75 years in pristine condition? That's like discovering a time capsule. Let's pause for a second. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that someone saved during the Truman presidency. A coin that might have traveled through post-war America, but never got the chance because it was perfectly preserved. Now imagine finding out that coin, something so small, has the power to change your financial life. That's the kind of magic hidden in the world of rare pennies. So, what does it all come down to? Rarity, condition, and demand. A common 1947 penny in worn condition may only be worth a few cents. But if you have one that was perfectly struck, stored away safely, and still gleams like it did the day it was made, or better yet, one that contains a minting error, then you might just be in possession of something extraordinary. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. A rare 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny, preserved in brilliant uncirculated condition and featuring a unique error, has been known to sell for an astonishing $115,000. Yes, $115,000. For a single penny. So before you overlook the jar of old coins or dismiss the pennies in your pocket, take a second look. You never know when history and a small piece of copper might surprise you. Top 3. We're diving deep into a coin that might be sitting quietly in a box, a drawer, or a coin jar in your home, the 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny from the United States of America. Now, to most people, it looks like just another old copper coin. Tiny, brown, maybe a little scratched up, the kind of penny that gets tossed aside or handed out as small change without a second thought. But here's the twist: some of these 1949 pennies are far from ordinary. In fact, a select few are so rare and so valuable, they've stunned even the most seasoned collectors. This isn't just about coin collecting, this is about hidden treasure. So stay with me until the very end, because what you're about to learn might just turn your next coin into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Let's go back in time to 1949. America is adjusting to the post-World War II world. The economy is shifting, the Cold War is beginning to stir, and President Harry S. Truman is leading the country through a time of rapid change. Life is moving fast, but even in the middle of this transformation, something small and simple continues quietly: the U.S. Mint's production of the Lincoln Wheat Penny. The Wheat Penny had already been in circulation for 4 decades by 1949, but it remained a symbol of American identity. With Abraham Lincoln's strong, steady profile on the front and 2 curved stalks of wheat on the back, The design was iconic, honoring both a legendary president and the hard-working American spirit. In 1949, Lincoln pennies were minted in 3 cities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Millions of these coins rolled off the presses, and they were meant to be used, dropped into gumball machines, passed through grocery counters, saved in piggy banks by kids across the country. But here's the twist: not all of these coins were created equal. Some 1949 pennies have been discovered with incredible features that make them extremely rare and sought after. One of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting is the concept of the error coin. Sometimes, during the minting process, a machine might misalign a die, stamp the coin twice, or accidentally use the wrong metal planchet. These mistakes are incredibly rare, and when they occur, they create coins that are one-of-a-kind. In the case of the 1949 Wheat Penny, certain examples have been found with doubled dies, where the design appears slightly repeated or shadowed. Others have off-center strikes or mint marks that were punched more than once. And then there are the ultra-rare anomalies, pennies that may have been struck on leftover steel blanks from the early 1940s wartime coinage. These are the coins that collectors dream of finding, but even without a dramatic error, the value of a 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny can soar based on one important factor: condition. Most pennies from this time are heavily worn. They were used in everyday life, scratched and tarnished by decades of handling. But if a coin was somehow preserved in near-perfect shape, what collectors call mint state, it becomes something truly special. A sharp strike, original red luster, and no signs of wear. That's a rare sight for any wheat penny, let alone one that's over 70 years old. The value of a coin depends on the story it tells, the condition it's in, and how rare it truly is. Most 1949 pennies in average circulated condition are worth only a few cents. But if you're lucky enough to have one that's been graded at a high level or contains one of these extraordinary minting errors, you could be looking at a life-changing surprise. Imagine pulling out an old coin you've had since childhood, or finding one at a garage sale, or spotting one in a relative's forgotten collection, and discovering that what looked like a regular penny is actually worth more than a luxury car. And now, after exploring all the details, the history, the design, and the rarity, it's time to answer the question that brought you here: just how valuable can a 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny really be? A rare 1949 penny, in uncirculated condition with a minting error, has been valued at an incredible $105,000. That's right, $105,000 for a single copper penny. So before you toss aside that old change or assume your pennies are worthless, take a closer look. The next time you're sorting through coins, remember, you might just be holding a piece of American history that could change your life. Top 4, we're taking a deep dive into a small piece of American history that might just be hiding in plain sight. You might have one in a dusty jar, an old wallet, or tucked away in a drawer without even realizing it. That's right, we're talking about the Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1954, minted in Denver, and why some versions of this little copper coin could be worth far more than anyone ever expected. This is one of those coins that many people overlook. After all, it's just a penny, right? But what if I told you that under the right conditions, this seemingly ordinary coin could be worth a fortune? So grab your magnifying glass, dust off your coin collection, and stay with me until the end, because the story of the 1954 Wheat Penny is filled with history, mystery, and a jaw-dropping value that you'll want to hear. Let's rewind the clock back to the mid-1950s. America was thriving in the post-war boom. The economy was booming, televisions were making their way into homes, and the American dream was in full swing. Amidst all this growth and optimism, the U.S. Mint continued producing one of its most enduring coin designs, the Lincoln Wheat Penny. The design had been in use since 1909 and featured the image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, with 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse side. Simple, symbolic, and deeply American. In 1954, pennies were produced in 3 locations: Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Denver, which is where the D Mint mark comes from. The Denver Mint struck over 250 million pennies that year. So, you might be thinking, how can a coin produced in the hundreds of millions be rare? Well, here's where things start to get interesting. The majority of these coins went directly into circulation and were used heavily. They bought candy, paid for bus rides, and passed through millions of hands. That means most 1954 D pennies you'll find today are scratched, worn, and far from perfect. But a very small number were preserved, carefully stored, or simply forgotten, untouched by time. And even fewer of those carry something much more special: minting errors. Now, let's talk about why mint errors are such a big deal. In the world of coin collecting, a mint error isn't a flaw, it's a golden opportunity. These are mistakes made at the mint that somehow slipped through quality control and made their way into the public. Some 1954 D pennies have been found with doubling, where the letters or numbers appear to be stamped twice. Others show off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or repunched mint marks. These are the coins that collectors go crazy for, because they are truly one of a kind. Imagine holding a coin that was struck wrong over 70 years ago, forgotten in a collection or passed down through generations, and suddenly discovered to be incredibly rare. That's what makes the 1954 D Wheat Penny so fascinating. It's not just a coin, it's a hidden relic that tells a story few people know. But we're not done yet. What elevates the value of this coin even more is condition. A coin with an error is great, but a coin with an error that's also in brilliant uncirculated condition? That's the holy grail for collectors. No scratches, no wear, crisp details, original shine. It's like it came straight from the mint yesterday. And when rarity meets perfection, that's when values can climb into the stratosphere. So how do you know if your 1954 D penny is special? Start by checking the mint mark. Look just below the year on the front of the coin. Then, examine the surface. Is it clean? Are there any odd markings? Doubling? Off-center designs? If you're unsure, it's always worth having it examined by a professional coin grading service. Because if your coin matches the right conditions, it might just be more valuable than you ever imagined. And now, here it is. The moment you've been waiting for. A rare 1954 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, preserved in pristine uncirculated condition and featuring a distinct minting error, has been valued at an astonishing $95,000, yes, $95,000, for a penny. So next time you come across a handful of old coins, or you're sorting through a dusty collection passed down from a grandparent, don't rush past the little wheat penny from 1954 with the D mint mark. It might just be the smallest fortune you've ever held in your hand. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. There are treasures hiding all around us, and sometimes, they come in the form of something as small and humble as a penny. Top 5. We're taking a closer look at one of the last true classics of American copper coinage, a penny that's older than most of us, and might be hiding in your pocket, a coin jar, or deep inside an old coin folder. This is the story of the 1957 D Lincoln Wheat Penny, and why it's not just another old coin, but a potential goldmine in disguise. Now, you might be thinking, a penny from 1957? What could be so special about that? After all, pennies are everywhere, right? They're the coins we often leave behind, ignore, or toss into a jar. But some pennies, especially those with the right date, the right mint mark, and the right condition, are worth much more than 1 cent. In fact, some are worth thousands. And the 1957 D Wheat Penny is one of those surprising coins with a story you need to hear. Let's jump back to 1957. Dwight D. Eisenhower is in the White House, the United States is entering the space age, Elvis Presley is shaking up the airwaves, and American families are living the dream of the booming post-war era. It was a time of confidence, optimism, and rapid change, but through it all, one thing remained consistent: the U.S. Mint continued to produce the Lincoln Wheat Penny. By this point, the wheat penny had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years. The front still proudly featured President Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of unity, leadership, and legacy, while the reverse displayed 2 wheat stalks bending inward, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Simple, elegant, and unmistakably American. In 1957, pennies were minted in large numbers, and those from the Denver Mint carry a small D mark just below the year. The Denver Mint struck over 1 billion pennies that year. Yes, billion with a B. So that raises the obvious question: how can a coin that was made in such massive numbers be rare? The truth is, most of those pennies were used every single day. They were carried in pockets, jingled in purses, spent on candy, comic books, soda, and bus fares. Most of the 1957 D Wheat pennies have been scratched, worn down, and circulated until they lost their original beauty. But a very few, were stored carefully, forgotten in mint rolls, or preserved by collectors before they ever saw daylight. And that's where the story gets interesting. You see, value in coin collecting comes down to 3 important factors: condition, rarity, and uniqueness. Let's start with condition. If you have a 1957 D penny that's scratched, discolored, or heavily worn, it's probably worth a small amount, maybe a few cents. But if you happen to have one that looks almost brand new, with no visible wear, full detail, and original red luster, you're already ahead of the game. These uncirculated coins are very desirable to collectors, especially when professionally graded and etched. Let's talk about rarity and uniqueness, and that's where things get exciting. Although the 1957 D pennies are common overall, a very small number of them were struck with minting errors, and that is the golden ticket. We're talking about double die obverse errors, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and coins accidentally stamped on the wrong type of metal. These error coins are extremely hard to find, but when discovered in mint condition, they can be worth a staggering amount. A double die, for example, happens when the coin is struck more than once with slightly misaligned dies, creating a ghosted or shadow-like appearance in the text or numbers. It's not only unusual, it's highly collectible. Or imagine a penny that was accidentally struck on a leftover dime planchet, thinner, silver-colored, and completely out of place. These mistakes turn an everyday coin into something truly extraordinary, but here's the kicker: when you combine a mint error with a coin that's also in pristine, uncirculated condition, that's when we're talking about serious money. And that brings us to the big reveal you've been waiting for. Yes, this little 1-cent piece, this humble copper coin from 1957 with a small d under the date, if it has the right error, and if it's in near-perfect condition, has sold for as much as $90,000. That's right. $90,000. For a single penny. So, the next time you're sifting through a handful of old coins, or helping your grandparents clean out the attic, don't overlook that small brown penny with a date of 1957 and a D mint mark. It might just be the most valuable thing in the room. Thanks for joining me on this incredible coin journey. If you loved learning about the hidden value of the 1957 D Wheat Penny, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you're the first to know when we uncover the next big discovery. There's a whole world of coins out there waiting to be found, and your next treasure might be closer than you think. Until next time, happy collecting, and keep your eyes open, because even a penny can be priceless.